Bienvenidos a una nueva edición. Oh, sorry, this is in English. Welcome to a new edition of Human Dialogues. I'm Jessica Lockhart, and I am really happy to have you here with us today on the first edition of Human Dialogues 2024. As you know, every month we approach a human topic, a topic that's chosen by our followers and our readers. And the topic chosen for January is none other than speak without fear. I know that speaking, especially in public, is something hard for a lot of people. Sometimes expressing our own feelings, expressing our ideas and opinions is something that scares us very much. And that's why we decided that we'd invite different people this month to discuss this topic. And of course, if we had to invite somebody, it is the person that I am so happy, so thrilled to introduce today, and that will be my guest tonight on Human Dialogues. I am talking about none other than Val Valino. Val Valino is a Mexican woman who lives globally, and she's a person that I am sure you will love as soon as she opens her mouth. Why? Because she knows how to speak. We're going to be approaching the topic speak up, which could, of course, lead to many different interpretations. Let me first introduce Val to you. Val supports vulnerable communities through education, supporting teachers and children and teens, including organizations that support children with special abilities, as well as parents through conscious parenting. She also supports homeless people and has collaborated widely in natural disasters. Her message has made her an international keynote speaker, sharing her experience and knowledge in Asia, Europe, Africa, North and South America. Val has built a global community that supports her humanitarian causes and has received numerous recognitions and awards for her work. She is therefore a keynote speaker, coach, NLP practitioner, an expert, volunteer, author, and our guest tonight in Human Dialogues. Val, welcome. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for that welcoming. Thank you for that introduction. I am so happy to also kick off my conferences with you, with Human Dialogues, and for the opportunity that you give me to touch people's hearts, to inspire them, to get them connected with their own voice, how important it is to find our own voice and tune our own voice in accordance to our own vibration and our own heart. And it's a journey, but it doesn't have to be a long one. Should you decide to tap in, step in, and be consistent in that gateway to arriving to the gate of what you've been waiting for, and making it an opportunity to be connected, not just for your own personal mission, but to the voices of so many other people, and especially their hearts.
Exactly, and that is precisely why we thought you'd be a perfect opening speaker for this month's topic. Val, let's focus the topic a little bit. The title of today's conversation is Speak Up. And a lot of people, I would dare say especially females, have a lot of difficulties when trying to speak up, when trying to make their voices heard, in some countries and cultures more than in others as well. What would your first advice be to people in that situation? What would you tell them? How would you tell them to go about trying to speak up?
Absolutely. Beautiful question. And I'm going to share it, not from a side of, I read this, I took this course, but out of my own skin. Because actually in this book that you see here, there's a whole chapter that the title is actually From a Silent, Broken Little Girl to an International Keynote Speaker. So the processes that we go by culturally, right, especially in the Latino community, less is more. It's better if you're silent. Don't make people comfortable. You might be hurting someone. And all these things that we are brought up with make up a certain disc in our subconscious, a certain aspect of an area of our brain that is giving us that information over and over again when we want to speak up. And in my case, you added to, I'm sure it is the same situation for many people, trauma in different areas of your life. I have huge trauma. And so that actually silenced my voice. I mean, now I have this big voice that I talk everywhere and all day, every day, not just to share my voice, but be an advocate of those who are in the process of finding their own voice. So my first advice to go in concrete response to you is that we trust the process. In fact, the slogan of my company is trust your journey, and recognize when you are too long in a place of silence, because silence, for me, I stayed too long, and that took me to a depression that almost took my life. So that's all I read about it in my book. This is not about my personal story, but I want to share that sometimes we get too comfortable being silent, and then we forget what our voice sounds like. We forget to raise our hand for help. We forget that we are powerful beings, that we are here to share our path and our life mission. And we fall into spaces that we don't even think that we have a life mission. How can so much pain happen? And this is what happened to me. So I took my wounds in, and to avoid that is, first of all, trusting your journey, knowing how to raise your hand when you are feeling that you're not even recognizing your own heartbeat, that the energy of the silence is overtaking your life. And those are the two things that I would immediately recognize. Of course, number 3 would be find help, a coach or whomever, but somebody that can help you, not give you the tools and this is what you do only, but to do that inner process, inner connection, to understand the root cause of the doubt and the fear, and help you shift the energy to open a space of creation by helping you realign with your purpose in your heart.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. I fully agree with you. But I would like to go a little deeper. Sometimes, well, that's what I'm here for, to make you think a little bit and share with our audience. Sometimes people are not allowed to speak up. You already mentioned it, culturally or for different reasons. But sometimes people are also afraid to speak up because the consequences of speaking up could be negative, harmful. So it's not just that they are silent and they don't find their voices, is that speaking up might be dangerous. What would you tell them?
I'll go back again, not only from the teachings, but for my own experience. For me to even write a book with the wounds, that would be exposing my whole family and most likely have my entire family not ever speak to me again. There comes a time and place where you recognize where you're coming up from. If you are going to raise your voice and speak up with anger and revenge and low vibrational frequencies, then that's the outcome that you will get. When you are in a place to share your voice from a place of healing, from a place of gratitude, in my case, I had sexual abuse from my stepfather and so many other things that people say, can you even forgive that? I said, not only can I forgive it, I'm actually thankful. How could you be thankful? Because now I'm a connector to so many hearts that are going through the same thing. I don't have to say I went through it. People come to me because you are a magnet of the vibration that you lived and where you are. So now I not only, it's one thing is to teach from knowledge, from a book, from a course, but if you have the book, the course, you have made the course and you have lived the life, and in many countries, and probably, to be honest, for those that respect my belief system, multiple lifetimes, then you're in a time and space where you can actually share the steps, the stepping stones to get to your own truth and share, knowing that source, the universe, whoever your belief system is allowing you a spotlight to be a vessel of love, of the divine, the universe, to anyone crossing your path. So when you understand that that is from that place, then you are giving that strength and the fear disappears, or at least dims. Because then we go into understanding what fear is, right? Oh my gosh, fear, they're going to stop talking to me. Or if you are in that position that it's genuine love while you're coming out of your own healing and the healing of others, then also the universe works in a strategic way to support that moment and increase it and elevate it in a conscious space that will create abundance in every way for you and for the people that are receiving your message.
Yes, but that's once you're already on that path through to healing and recovery. But imagine that little Val that was being assaulted by her stepfather. At that moment, you couldn't speak up. There were too many things that prevented you from speaking up. And I was referring to that kind of situation too. You know, there's victims who just can't speak up. Do you have any, having been in that position, do you have any piece of advice for them? Because they're not ready for that healing yet. They're in a very, very difficult situation.
Absolutely. And that's what I go back to my initial thought. From the first, I close my eyes when I say advice, because as a coach, I don't give advices. I ask contributing questions so people can find their own truth. So it's hard for me to give an advice. I'm going to turn it around and put it into questions. If you're in a situation that you're a little girl like I was, and I carry that, what would it look like for you to raise your hand and ask? If you, sometimes for me, I didn't want to say it with my family, because I'll be straightforward. If I say what was going on, it would be my fault that my mother would divorce this person. This was her second marriage, and I didn't want to carry that. So my little broken heart as a little girl was protecting my mom. And so when you nowadays I'm also in the education system. I'm a teacher by background. So this is my legacy, where I go around the world to also give the tools to parents and teachers to recognize those spaces where little broken girls and boys are, or teens, that we can give them the tools to help them recognize. When you ask a teen, how are you? Okay. A little child, is everything okay? Yeah. And we miss out. This is not culturally. This happens in every household. It doesn't matter your social status, and it doesn't matter what country you are from. This hits everywhere. So that's why we also serve giving these international talks to help people get motivated to be so present that you not only miss out the voice of your children or people or your family members, but your own voice. Because we get carried away into the day-to-day, and we miss out on what that inner voice is telling us. Going back to those little children or that broken person, is being in a space that if you, for whatever reason, don't feel like you're home, you never know what happens in everybody's home, that there is always a professional, a neighbor, a friend of the friend, and the first place to go. And of course, I would go up to source. Guide me, lead me, let me be connected with the heartbeat of my heart. And thank you. Now, as an NLP practitioner, I'm like, or a little girl, you don't have these knowledges, but you're like in gratitude to understand that the fact that you at least have an awareness that something is not right. Maybe you don't have the clarity that you need to raise your hand, but it's baby steps and recognizing those small wins to get you to your next stepping stone. Now, is that next stepping stone going to be solid and cement, all, straightforward for you to step on? No, sometimes you step on it and it's like, you feel like you went 50 levels down. So just going back to understanding, at that age, we're going back to the sample of a little girl, you don't understand nothing. All you want is like, get this pain out. And this is not working out for me. I didn't sign up for this. So for me, goes back to the education piece and to come back to, to schools. And well, one of my missions is to have, also a coach for conscious parenting. I'm a conscious parenting coach. So I want to get those parents who don't even think they're already pregnant, like before they even think of bringing a child here, because this whole parenting thing is not just, you get that baby out, you put him on the boob and the fine. No, when and if we take the time to educate the adult, while educating the adult, they're doing their own process healing. And then we help them break generational patterns before the child comes in. And so many countries, as you know, I have so many stories of how those shifts have happened, of even teachers, especially in Africa. Last year, the year before last, I went to a whole missionary trip, and I was working with teachers that you would think, how are they even teachers? Because they were so broken. But it's beautiful what love can really do, and without being a cliche, like really applying. I've been working with homelessness for such a long time, and there is a way for them to have a voice to tell their story, and for all of us to have the knowing that this is accessible to all. And it's not just for you that you have this incredible program, or me that I go around doing this, all over the world. It is accessible for all, and that each one of us does have a voice to share. No, but Val, I don't have as many trauma things in my story for it to be like noticeable to share a book. We all have a story to tell.
So you're basically also telling me that people can speak up vicariously through somebody else's voice sometimes, that teachers, parents, adults in general, and other members of society should also speak up for those who don't have a voice, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times what happens when these caregivers are speaking about it, in my case, my wounds were so deep that I had put them in an area of my subconscious, like it was a bad dream, like it didn't happen. It's a denial, right? So when you start talking to people or hearing this, they're like, wait, was this? You start recognizing, certain things that bring you back. And then you're like, oh my gosh, it's not a dream. It's not in my subconscious. It did happen. So if we live in a cocoon-based life where, we're with adults that are on the go all the time, or as we know, these cell phones are just not connecting people's eyes anymore, or anything like that. This is why the index of violence and abuse and everything has gone up. The suicidal rate is off the chain. And I just came back from the Philippines, and that's one of the places where they're like, I met so many people that had lost a loved one to this, and it's a thing now because they don't have a voice, because they can't raise their voice, because they're just feeling so broken. It's the easy way out. And this is why I'm so passionate to speak about nonstop about this, because I have seen also beautiful transformations. It doesn't matter what part of the world, but it can be done. It can, and it should.
Would you say that people in general speak up more now than in the past?
I generally have seen this, and I am happy about it. Now the education piece comes. Now there's this thing like, I'm empowered, but from where is that coming from? So I've also seen a lot of destruction because they got the power pill, but not from that place of healing. Just like, nobody's going to step on me. Now they're going to hear me. I'm not going to let. So if you're coming from that sense, it'll get you. So, yes, thank you for speaking up. Now, how can you, hearing us now or after this is recorded, how can you find the time to have these silent moments of connection with you and understand that inner voice? How can you make time to have a therapist, a coach, or go to retreat, a spiritual teacher, whatever? One of the things that I just deconstruct all the time, because if I hear this 10 times a week, it's not enough. Val, how are you everywhere all day? You can't. I don't have time. You have time. No, I make time. You watching us can make time for things that are important to you. There are no excuses, because if I tell anybody watching right now, you tell me you don't have time, it's too bad. I was gonna share part of my lottery winning ticket and the bank, but since you don't have time, people make time for what you want. And it's the little acts of love and the little acts of kindness that really make a big difference. Those dialogues of, and right now I'm in front of the ocean and I go in the morning walks. A lot of times I meet with the fishermen as they bring out the fish, and just, you recognize, and then you start just having this dialogue, and all of a sudden they're speaking up, and they're like, wow, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. I don't even know you. And so the spaces start to be in place, and are in place, actually, not just for me or you teaching this. Those spaces of synergies and dialogues and momentums for people to speak up are already in place. The question is, are we recognizing them? The other question is, are you actually feeling the contribution that it is to our own soul when somebody's speaking up as an echo of your heart or your vibration? There's always a win-win. There's always a synergy of service between the one who's hearing and the one who is speaking. And when you realize that, that is just one of the beautiful dances in life, you are open to create as many more moments, not just for you, but for the people that are waiting for your heart and vibration.
You wrote a book. One of the things that we sometimes teach some of our victims, we also work with victims, all kinds of victims. One of the things we teach them is that in order to speak up, sometimes you have to write down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's easier to take a pen and a piece of paper and write things down, or draw things, or
Mm-hmm.
sculpt things. The idea is to get it out of your system before you can put it in words. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are intimidated by that process, but I'd highly recommend it. And also, I'll share some wisdom here. When you're writing them, it's not just to get it out, just to be able to recognize it and see it. You don't really want to take out the pain forever, or just get it out like so many people know with the end of the year.
Yeah,
I just
no,
want to
no, no,
leave
no.
this
That's
year
not
behind.
that's not
No,
what I meant at all.
no, I know
No,
you didn't, but I know
no,
our
not at
audience
all.
might. I know you didn't, but I know our audience do, because in coaching sessions, just right now, it's like, oh, I just want to leave this, and I'm writing to this to go away. Let's remember, what we deny or want to get out will persist more. So it is a process of writing within the heart and putting into paper, because as you're writing, these memories and moments will come clearer to you as you are creating a space for that. So it is absolutely a process. I never thought I would write like how easy this book just came about. I didn't have a title. I didn't have chapters. There was no structure to this book. I just felt right. And then all of a sudden it's like, how is this going to come together? And it just did. So when you are following your heart, source will lead you.
Yeah, see, precisely that's what I meant. It's like when you said I was working with this person, and what sounded to me, to myself even, as a dream started becoming real. So that process of writing, drawing, dancing, whatever, that getting it out is what can help you with. It can help you
100%.
with that. So it's fundamental that you somehow
Mm-hmm.
speak up, even if it's not in words. Another important aspect of speaking up, I would say, Val, let me have your thoughts on this. And it's something that a lot of people neglect to focus on, is allowing yourself to speak up to yourself. I
Mm.
mean, sometimes we are not capable of speaking to ourselves because, talking to ourselves, inner child, our true selves, whatever you want to call it, sounds scary. And and makes it real too. So I think it's also important that we give ourselves the chance to start speaking up, even inside to ourselves. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, absolutely. There is a fear for people to create that space of being in solitude and being alone. And I can also testify by that. I mean, even when I had a family structure, for me to come down from the second floor to the first floor to get a glass of water, I mean, I was terrified. That was my level of fear. You can imagine if I was going to create a space for me, myself, and I'd be thinking that everything was haunting me because I had so much pain. But also in the book I share, it's a whole passage that's called "I'm here to remind you," and one of the points it says, "I'm here to remind you that when you feel alone is when you are going to feel most company. You create that space of your connection with whatever your divine is, and as soon as you start that step, the universe has your back, and you will see what all you can actually come to feel when you allow that space. And we all know that emotions that are stifled or stuck, sadly, they become illness. There are tons of studies of how those are increasing. We've seen in the US the amount of drugs that people are dependent upon. And we have also seen now that a lot of people are awakening and are choosing to be more in contact with nature and having spiritual teachers and just doing this kind of work. You can see how beautiful is their turnaround and the connection with themselves and not dependent on anything external to be their own happiness, to have their own voice, to speak up, to be wanting to experiment new things. So absolutely, it's a space that can be scary, and we recognize it right here, both of us sharing with you, our audience. However, it is a must, and it's all a phase. And once you hit that moment of the aha moment, the rest is just infinite, what possibilities that can arise from you opening that space. So it is definitely an encouraged moment, to be honest, where I am now. Everybody wanted to come here because I'm right now in a place where I needed to ground myself before going to my beginning of this 2024. And I spoke up. And I said, I thank you so much for wanting to be with me. It's my time to be with me and the universe, to see where my next step is going, to hear my voice, to do my own little rituals. So whether you want to call them rituals or not, start small. Start by having a small walk, 10 minutes a day by yourself, which knowing that you're never going to be by yourself. Go out and sit next to a tree and just put your back against it, or grab that notepad and write one word, one sentence, or sit and put your headphones on and just hear maybe a song that can move your soul. There's so many processes that are available for you free, that all we have to do is take that one step, and a little step, and then all of a sudden you'll be taking big steps, and all of a sudden you'll be doing quantum jumps, and all of a sudden you'll be flying.
We're going to change perspectives now, and I'm going to focus on another very common situation in which people are afraid to speak up sometimes, and that is public speaking. You're a keynote speaker, and I also help and train people on how to speak in public, but we focus on how to speak being themselves. So not imitating others, but being their true selves. There's a lot of stage fright. There's a lot of anxiety associated to speaking in public or in front of a camera, in front of an audience. Would you, even if you're a coach, would you have some advice for those who want to be on stage but are really afraid to speak up and their voices become very small when they have to get onto the stage?
Right. I love that question so much. The first thing is, it's not about giving you the tools. 1, 2, 3. You're going to go in the middle of the stage, because if you are centered in the middle, the energy, the audience, or you are going to use the 3 voices or no, it's not about that. As a coach in different modalities, I want to get to the root cause of your heart. What is it that you think is there, that voice that is telling you you're not good enough? You are not a good speaker. You have not a story to tell. If we just teach the strategies to get on stage, but not get to the root cause of the soul and work on the inner programs, that will be temporary. You will perform. You might get a standing ovation, God willing, but it would take so much energy from you. And it will actually might be a little bit of connection there with the audience, amazing. But when you are not really operating from the ethnicity of your heart, the purest part of your heart, when you are seeing each human being in the audience as you being in the audience in that time of life where you were so broken or so hurt, you want to put yourself in the audience place. What would have done it for you? What how would you like someone to be speaking to you at that time? And forget, for me, I've always said it, sometimes because of the humanitarian work, you can have a small audience of 5, 10 people, but you give it your all, because 1 is a million. If there's a shift of consciousness in one person, or a moving of their heart for one person, that person could be a million. So for me, for the advice to feel strong to get on stage is really understanding with a coach or spiritual healing or whatever you want, to understand why that inner voice is there that was not allowing you to have that strength. Yes, of course, you practice and you become better at it. I go back and hear my things from a while back, but the turning point for me is where I see everyone as a heart, wounded. Some are, pumping up. I feel it. I see them. I see hearts. I don't see faces. And when I can get into that frequency and that momentum, then again, the universe has your back. And it's, yes, amazing to know your topic and of course study it, but more than studying it, more than looking at a PowerPoint presentation, more whatever, be open to understand the energy of the room. And if you so need to deviate because you want to cater it personally to the people there, you are so tapped in, turned on from doing your inner work and understanding what it is to be in the other side, wanting this topic. Some people made a huge effort to go and see you, money wise, but move themselves to be there. When you know that you don't take this lightly, when you know that you are being put there for a reason, when you know that everything that you went through is now the opportunity to understand it and make sense of it all, then it's like this other energy comes in where you ignite not your audience, but the hearts of your audience.
Yeah, there's like this invisible connection that just happens. And it's like if we were linked together and there's something flowing, something that it's almost tangible. You can almost touch it. Yeah. Well, thank you so very, very, very much, Val. I know that your presentation inspired and will continue inspiring the people who watched us now and those who will be watching us later. I really thank you for being here at the beginning of the year. It was an honor. It was a fantastic pleasure. I know we'll have a lot more to share in the coming times. I don't know when or how, but it will happen for sure. I know that we are quite on the same wavelength. We share a lot of views, and I think that the two of us together will really move a lot of people. So let's go and do it. Thank you very much, Val,
Absolutely.
for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. And thank you to our audience that will take the time to be viewing this. And of course, if this is of service to you, one act of love is to share. To share. You never know that one part of whatever we said would be exactly what a viewer was waiting to hear. So it's all about sharing the love and expanding opportunities for others.
It totally is. Thank you so much, Val. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you soon, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the viewers.
And to those of you watching us now or watching us later, remember that our next edition of Human Dialogues will happen next month. You know, we meet every month, and the topic will be tips to defeat self-sabotage. That will take place February 12th. Don't miss it. I'm Jessica Lockhart. This is the Human Dialogues for the Institute of Humanology. Thank you for being there. Send you a big hug. See you soon. Bye.